Welcome back to the Call Me Larry podcast, the only podcast where both the hosts are still leaking.
To give you a little context, that's because of our last episode that you may have just listened to a little bit of ASMR, but really us torturing ourselves with hot wings purely for your enjoyment. We do have a follow-up. We are both still alive, just in pain.
Oh my gosh. So this is, we're recording this the day after our Hot Larrys. And so my dad came by and he wanted to also try the hot wing.
Big Jeff.
So Jeff, the legendary Jeff came by, and not only did he have one bite of the hot wing that we had, the 911 one, he had 3 bites. And he convinced us both to each take another bite.
Dude, I said verbatim that I would never do that again, and then all of a sudden our Lord and Savior Jeff was like, "You will eat this with me," and yes, sir, I will do it.
Oh, so
it was not as painful the second time though. I think we just seared off our taste buds.
Oh yeah, no, my tongue has some like growths on it. I don't know, it's burned. There's like some acid burns there. But no, that being said, so we're recording this the next day, and you know what I was just thinking? We've never recorded a podcast before like 4 or 5 p.m. We've never recorded like a daytime. Like it's still light out. Feels a little like weird.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, normally it's like the end of the day. Maybe we're pre-gaming, like having a couple brewskis. Now we just have water in front of us, and it's like 1 p.m.
Yeah. This is a sobering but good experience for us, one way or another. I'm sipping on my coffee instead of my beer.
Well, no, I think that goes into a good point for kind of what you wanted to get into for this podcast, because we just went from one of the most irresponsible, stupid things that we could have done as young men who now live on their own and with the big boy energy, and now it's like, oh, this is the responsible side.
It's like the dad vibes,
it's not like, always party time, guys.
But no, that's getting into the topic that we did want to talk about, where it's like, growing up, I dub it becoming a big boy.
I'm a big kid now.
It's like a good idea, but it's like really just taking the next level, and me now off of my own in my own place and everything that's come with that. Like people around me have just like been noticing like all of these kind of adjustments and changes in like my like adulthood. And although you and myself, we still have
act like we're still in college.
Yeah. I think that's our kind of outlet between us two. But like on top of that, it's like there's bills. Like I'm working, I'm doing well at my job, and like I'm growing up. As weird as it sounds.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's like and with growing up, you cherish those kind of relationships and times that you can spend like we're spending with each other now. And I think Call Me Larry is an outlet for both of us to really have our creative juices just expulge, just like just go right at it, just excrete everywhere. I'm just like, because like, well, it's because like we both have jobs, right? And we're working, and we don't have those creative outlets maybe every day in our jobs.
Well, no, I mean, like, there's 2 sides to it, right? Yeah, you do have some kind of creative outlet, but it's very like structured, and it's for a reason, and it's quite literally you're getting paid for a service to do what you do.
Yeah.
And for us, this is just fun, and we're taking a journey along with everybody listening, and we basically kind of get to revert back to our baser instincts back of when we were living together in college and just getting up to shenanigans and everything, and like all the stories that we talk about. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, while this is kind of somewhat of a platform for us as far as a business entity, kind of, it's like there's not a lot of rules. Like there's not a lot of you're in the office dealing with HR and stuff. It's just like you're H and I'm R, and then we put two brain cells together and we become one person.
Look at me, look at us. We are the captain now.
Dude, I can picture you with that mustache being in HR, like nice. You got the white tie, and you have to have the short sleeve button up shirt.
Oh yeah.
And I walk in, and you just you do the quick spin, take a sip, and you're like, my name's Jeff.
Well, I believe it or not, the other day, it was like right before I had moved out of my parents' place. I just had this urge to just walk out on my deck, like our patio, and just in just moccasins and just a short and like a mug of coffee, and just take in the fresh air. And it's like, that was like mega dad vibes. You know, like I was like, wow, I'm getting old.
You're appreciating your lawn that you just freshly mowed.
Yeah. Yeah, I sent you a Snapchat. I was just like, look at that lawn.
Yeah, it's
like,
so funny.
And I was enjoying that. And you know, I have a nice stash right now, but my girlfriend is making me shave it this week. So I lived it up while I could, but I definitely like felt the dad energy, you know, and I definitely fed the dad bod.
Is that how it works? If you have a mustache, you're automatically a dad.
Guys, yeah. Once you get a mustache, it just changes everything.
You're automatically a fireman.
It's a game changer. But it's funny that you kind of mentioned what we wanted to do. You know, what we're looking for with this podcast as a creative outlet and our friendship. Because it does offer us a good opportunity right now to talk a little bit about, you know, kind of the history of Call Me Larry and what we really want it to be, right? What it is to us. And, you know, I think that the thing that goes back to is we were talking about, you know, we've been friends for a while. We've been roommates in college and we've really grown together. But every time that we would always hang out with each other, no matter where we are, no matter when it was, we would always just die laughing. We would make each other laugh non-stop with just the craziest, like, stupidest ideas, just funniest stories, and just we would have a blast.
We can entertain each other for hours just doing the dumbest things. Like I remember just walking, like we were walking down the driveway, going for a drive. Like it doesn't matter. It's just because someone would see something or say something or think of something, and like there's never any. I don't want to say judgment, but basically, like, you're not afraid to say whatever you're thinking. You just come right out and you're like,
oh, yeah.
Yo, what if I took that raccoon and trained it and turned it into Rocket from Marvel Universe? Yeah. Like, just something so stupid.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess it was really, like, really nice and refreshing because any sort of, you know, meager task, any sort of, like, you know, stupid, monotonous thing, like, when we were combined together, we would just like explode with this creative energy and just come up with the wildest stuff and just we're saying like die laughing. We would die all the time.
Oh
laughing.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing for me too is that like when we'd be together, but we would also have just other friends around. It seemed like for some reason, like while you and I maybe we have like our funny moments on our own, it was when we were in a whole, you know, group of people, it was that our synergy and kind of that like chemistry that we have, it's like the situation would happen and then one of us would crack a joke or just like make fun of it or just like anything like remotely funny, and then the other person would lasso that bitch in, take it, give it a little 911 sauce and let it back out in the world for free or just for everybody to enjoy, and everybody else would be laughing too. That's not to say that we weren't always with other funny people, but it was like the relationship and that chemistry and that kind of led us to the fact that it's like, okay, maybe other people might enjoy our idiocy and what we talk about, and which is kind of funny because now we're reverting back to how just stupid our conversations are when we're trying to be adults and like be responsible. Recording this at 1 p.m. so I can be in bed by 8.
It's comedy. It's comedy. But what you're saying, it's so true. It's like when one of you commits to something that's maybe a little like out there, but like funny to yourself.
I'll join you.
As if the other person commits, like it helps, like, you know, backs you up, assists you. And this goes for regular comedy in shows. Usually, like when a comedian comes up and they have like someone come on stage to help them, right? It's like when you have another person that's in on it, that you know commits to it. It just makes like bits and like funny things so much funnier. Oh, and that's 100%. Why we just like our Z and J flow, you know, like it's just like, yo, patent that shit.
Oh no, I know.
It was just so good in groups that everyone loved it. And you know that we don't have big egos and all that. This is, you know, us.
It's just kind of the reason behind why we're like, all right, maybe we need a platform. Let's see where we can go with this. And it's been going well so far. And thank you to everyone who's following us on social media and, you know, listening to the episodes too. It's been a really good time up to this point.
Yeah, for sure. And we really do appreciate it. And, you know, just, you know, like, let us know, you know, like we're putting this stuff out here, you know, into the world. It's like, you know, give us some feedback. Yeah. We love it, you know, because we're all about improvement as well.
And I think, you know, we're going to get into a little bit more of the meat of this conversation. I know Jason has a couple things he wants to talk about, but something that I didn't want to bring up because a few of you have reached out and asked in our DMs, like, why do we have to call you Larry? Why can't we call you something? You know, what's the reason for the name for the show? So kind of while we're getting into the backstory of why the podcast started and why we got into this point, the reason for the name is this. This is the story for the reason for the name. So, in college, Jason had an obscene love for seltzer water.
Oh yeah.
All the way through.
Bubbly water, baby.
Oh yeah. And so when we were living together in our senior year, I had never really been big on seltzer. I wasn't a fan of it until I became severely addicted.
I'm telling you, I was amazed because I liked seltzer, right? But it's like I gave you heroin. Like,
Oh yeah,
you won.
spread like wildfire.
You like drank one, you're like, okay, nice, and then you became a hoarder.
Dude, so I would end up. So Jason was the only one with a car in college that I was able to use, and so he would let me take it to the grocery store. Grocery store wasn't far, but I would basically go in twice, and I would go in the first time, and I shit you not, I would leave with 60 or more liters. Like, I would literally just load up an entire carriage with seltzer and leave. And I'm talking like it was like roughly 50 cents a bottle. I was always getting the ones on sale, getting the good flavors, leaving whatever, loading up the car, going back in. So anyway, our room was always stocked, and Jason also provided the mini fridge for the room, and like obviously it's 50 cents. I'm not gonna say no if you want a bubbly boy. And so, you know, you're just like, yo, throw me one of those, whatever. So the whole point of this is that we had variations in sizes of different seltzer, so cans, liters.
Yes, and I had a really good deal because I gave you access to the car and access to the fridge.
I provided you with seltzer.
And dude, I remember one day in particular that you called me. You're like, Jason, you have to come to the car. And I didn't know why. And you opened the trunk, and I have a big trunk. This thing was filled to the brim with seltzer, and I was impressed and disturbed and happy. I had a mix of emotions, but I was like, wow, this guy's fucking crazy.
We were so hydrated. Well, dude, the other thing is that I knew that I was going to have to pay the Jason tax, so like 10 of those were guaranteed to be yours, like at least some kind of percentage in there, like depending on how fast. But I mean, I would walk around with multiple in my backpack. Like I was wildly well hydrated. But yeah, we're getting into the reason why we call us Larry.
I promise this is on topic.
Yeah, it makes sense. So basically the whole gist of it was that we started calling seltzers bubbly Larrys or bubbly boys. And so like I would be sitting at my desk, Jason would be in bed, and like he'd be like, yo, throw me a bubbly Larry, and I just grab a liter, chuck it at his head, and you know, run with it. But then that evolved into something so much more where it wasn't just like the seltzers were Larry, it was, yo, Larry, get the fuck over here. Like, what are you doing?
It's anything's a Larry. Yeah. Right? Like Larry's like an object. You know, just like, you know, we got Richard. Richard's the squirrel. Yes. You know, it's like Larry, Richard, it's just like it's an anchor.
It's an entity.
An anchor. Yeah, it's an entity. It's like, pass me this object.
Yeah, what up, you bad Larry? Like, how you doing?
Big Larry, bad Larry, you know, with the Larrys.
You can throw it in anywhere. Like, all the Larrys work at Gary's. I'm looking for some Harrys, like, bars.
Yeah. And the even funnier part, though, is that people that were around us started to pick it up, like, super quick. You know, we would even be at like house parties and be like, yo, pass me a Larry. And someone's like, what's a Larry? I was like, oh, it's a beer. And it's like, then I'd see them an hour later, like, yo, hit me with a Larry. You know, like everyone was into it.
Well, dude, I remember visiting you at your office, like within, I don't know, probably within the first year that you were at this job, right? And so you were really good friends with a few people, and like we would hang out with them outside of work. And then like this guy that I did not know that, I mean, I know him better now, but like at the time he's like, yeah, what up, you Larry? And I was in like no context, no anything. He just hit me with it, and I was like, I think I love you.
Dude, it's an infection. Yes. I spread the Larry.
So that's kind of the whole point, is that you call us Larry because it's that energy, man. It spreads. Everybody's Larry. I'm a Larry. You're a Larry. Yeah. It works.
And we hope you spread Larry into your life, into all the crevices in your life.
Penetrate Larry further into your world.
But that is, you know, that's how it came to be. And we knew we wanted to have our creative outlet and start podcasting and creating content. And we had a couple different like ideas for names, and you know, it just ended up sticking into like CML. It's like, call me Larry. You know, like, what is it all about? Like, there was a lot of different names that bounced around, but that one just like, we both looked at each other and were like, that's what it is. Just call me Larry.
It just captivates kind of our energy. And then we were able to hire a graphic designer to, at Cap Creative, go follow them on Instagram. And I don't know if they have a Twitter, but on social media. And they put together this awesome marketing package for us and kind of what it was. And it was like, dude, that we have to do this now. It took on a life of its own, and everything just, you know, it ran with it. But, you know, for those of you who did ask, that is the background story to why you call us Larry. We will also go by Jeff.
We do, yeah.
Just ruin the entire sequence. All right, but reeling this back into why Call Me Larry is recording responsibly. Jason, we wanted to talk about kind of how you have made a lot of progress in your life and kind of finally out on your own. You got a nice place. You're doing your own thing. You know, how do you see yourself having not improved your life, but how it's kind of changed maybe for the better? So I guess improved over the past maybe like 6 months, and kind of where you went from living back at home and kind of dealing with COVID to where you are now.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of a crazy kind of couple years, I'd say. And let's start it with, you guys are pretty familiar with our college. So let's start like after college, right? So maybe the end. So when I found out I got a job, right? You were there for that.
Oh yeah, you were pumped.
I was very excited because I was working really hard looking for a job. And so I found out I got this job, and we were with a group of our friends. Zach was there. I go in the backyard. I call everyone over. I go in the backyard and I jump on a table and I smash two. What is that? What is that called? It's called something.
It's the Stone Cold Steve Austin. When he takes the two beer cans and he cracks them both but doesn't drink anything, and then over his head he like smashes them together and then pours it. You pour it in your mouth. It really just goes all over your face.
Yeah, no, I was super hype. I was just jumping around like it was like champagne popping.
Yeah.
Like my kind of thing of that. And that was when I first found out I got my job. I was really really hyped. So we closed out the year with all of our like senior stuff and all that, and I was starting to work on getting ready for my career, and I started my job right out in the summer after we graduated, and it was really tough because I was living at home with a like really rough commute to the office, and it was just like I was back home with my parents, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, to give a little of the other perspective, I was planning on going to grad school after our undergrad years, and so after senior year, so I wasn't working anywhere near as hard as Jason was to try and find employment because I wasn't going to need it. I was, I had ended up being 2 years acquiring another degree. But when he came and he got the job, I kind of just had this feeling because he had this aura about him. Like, so I was already at our friend's house who, little spoiler alert, we might be having them on to give the other side of a very specific tree ripping story. But anyway, that'll be probably very soon. But anyway, I was already there and you showed up after the fact and you were like, yo, get everybody outside. And I'm like, okay, this can only really mean one thing, but all right, let's do it. And then you just like, but they had no context and they had no clue, and they're just like, what the hell is this kid doing? and then everybody was piped. Everyone was piped up. Everyone was pumped. Lay some pipe. Everyone was pumped up for the rest of the day, and then that set the tone for the entire weekend too, because that was like a Saturday, and then we just
there was so much energy that was emitting from me that everyone else just absorbed it and just passed it on.
Oh, we went from a calm chill sesh to just a day drink. Like we were like, all right, let's get after it. But anyway, you were talking about living at home and kind of
so like
transitioning.
I got my big boy job out of college, and now I'm back home with my parents, and I'm sure a lot of people have experienced this, but we've talked about it as well. It's like you're butting heads, you're back. It feels like you're back in high school. You're living on house rules, and I could not do it. So I'm like, get me the fuck out. Right. So I immediately go find another apartment within a matter of like 2 months to go live in with a couple other friends just to get out of the house. So that was my kind of like first step, and that was like straight up like it was still a college like dorm. I didn't hang up anything on the walls. It was just a white room, a desk. Like I never cooked food ever. And like there was no like good. It wasn't a good area. It was just a space.
It was like college. Like you took what you could get and you did the most with what you had.
Yeah,
and it worked and it gave you your freedom. But it's just like, all right, well, this is where I live. This is me now.
So I lived there for a year and it was good. It's just like there wasn't much going on other than me working. Mm-hmm. I was literally just going home, sleeping, and working, and just focusing on my career. And that really that was really taxing, like stress wise. That built up a ton of stress on me.
Sure.
So I got through that year, and it was really difficult learning, kind of getting into my position in like a new career, right? Because I'm starting my career, so there's so much pressure to excel. Just like when you're starting college, there's so much pressure on you to really succeed and set yourself up for success in your future. I had the same kind of mentality. So I spent a year there, and then I'm like, all right, like I need to move even closer to where I'm working, as well as I want to have some more social life, right? Yeah. So because I was missing out on that, I was just work, and just, spending time alone and just, like sleeping. That's all it was.
Well, I remember that too because, like, we were kind of lucky that I ended up going to grad school only a roughly 2-hour drive away from you were living. And so it gave us the opportunity when we could still hang out and, party and get up to some shenanigans.
Have our Larry sessions.
Yes, exactly. Spend time together. And so at your first apartment, like, dude, of course it was fun. It was a good time, but we did a lot more just kind of like hanging out. We weren't really going out and doing anything wild.
Really socializing.
Not socializing with other people and kind of like just getting the vibe of, being in your 20s in a major city and everything like that. But then the next year, especially since then I had that one semester where I was also in the same city. So it worked out really great as far as like kind of phasing and time wise. But our lives, social scene wise, were unbelievable uptick from the year prior. It took off immediately.
Yeah, and so that's when I looked to move into a more like, kind of popping area, like something where there's a lot of social activity. So I downgraded my apartment big time. Big time. I lived in a like Nike shoebox. Like I'm telling you, this thing was old.
You didn't live alone either. You had many other vermin.
I had a couple cockroaches. It was really bad.
But chain smoking Newports in the corner.
So, I had a lot of roommates that it was it was really tight quarters, but like the social scene was crazy there. So I had just really gotten a good footing in my job, and like I was starting to feel more comfortable there. I had a really good friend group, and it was growing. And, you happened to also be moving to the area for a period of time. So that year was wild. So that went from like, I went from a lot of anxiety, like a lot of stress, no real social life for year one to year two of like maxed out social life, a good amount of stress, and really bad kind of living conditions. It's not healthy. Definitely not healthy.
I mean, it was kind of like an analogy directly back to school where like when we first started out freshman year, it was kind of like, you specifically had a little bit of social anxiety and everything, and we're dealing with kind of just being yourself and finding yourself and all, but also getting work done and everything too. And it's just kind of like the clock ends up resetting because you enter a different caliber of like, okay, I have a new living situation. I have to work on this. I have to, like, it's kind of just like it resets. It's not like it's every 4 years. Like, it's probably not going to happen again, but
reflecting on it, what you're explaining right there is mirroring, right? Like year one of college, like, social anxiety and like stress and, if conforming to a new lifestyle, right? Year one of career, same thing.
Exactly.
Year two, starting to find my footing, expanding socially, right? And, maybe not as healthy and still some, stress and anxiety that goes with that. So I'm on year 3 now, baby, right? So that was a great year. It was a lot of fun, but I was a little too stressed out and I partied a little too hard. I'll tell you that. There was a little too much social in there, right? But that's because I had no reason to ever go back to my apartment because it was kind of like really bad there. So I would just like sleep there. It was just a bed.
Me being in the city for the first roughly
that
like 4 or 5 months definitely didn't help.
That definitely didn't help.
Motivated you to definitely be like, all right, we need to go do stuff. But that, it's true. And like, kind of what I was saying was that it's not like the clock resets every 4 years. Like we didn't have a global pandemic in college, and that we now have to deal with too. But at the same time, it's like I think you kind of learn and grow, and part of just becoming an adult is while you're faced with very similar or the same challenges, you handle them a lot differently because you have that hindsight and perspective. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you've either learned from your own mistakes or learned from other mistakes that other people made, right? You're more knowledgeable. You've been what you're saying,
exactly.
You have your footing, and so now I feel like that was a good time, but it was a little too much, and now I think we all were put on hold for about like 6 to 8 months at least for COVID, right? And that was a bit of a weird lull. Let's just kind of move on from that because everyone and people are still in a weird space. We're all in this weird space. But I'm excited moving into year 3 here. I think I have a pretty good footing on social as well as work as well as friends, and now I have I guess the best combination of living arrangements, space, social like Lysing kind of area to set up for the year, and I'm just waiting for that vaccine to come out and people to start to really engage more and all that kind of stuff. But I'm feeling good, and I'm really excited for this year and what's to come.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like as far as the vaccine and everything goes, like multiple companies, even today, someone announced that they're pretty confident. It's like, while you can't count on that, I think that you're kind of, as far as timeline goes, in a good spot because, you just got here, right? And so you're just going to end up holding up and hibernating for the winter and kind of like, all right, the pandemic's going to run its course. The weather's going to suck anyway, so I don't really want to have to commute. and it kind of works out. But then when the spring hits, hopefully,
hitting the ground running.
yeah, exactly. Everything's under control. Like the weather's good, and you're in a primo area to just kind of, be in your 20s, which is just, perfect as far as in chronological order, I guess.
Yeah, and so, all things said, I'm really happy at where I'm set up now, but just to kind of recap, you live, you learn, you grow, right? And
what a responsible thing for you to say, Jason. Very mature.
Yeah, hey, dude, I have my coffee. I got my moccasins on right now. It's 1:00. It's on Monday.
Looking at that stash, you are radiating dad energy, my friend.
Not ready for the dad stage yet, but yeah, no, you gotta live, you learn, you grow, and things happen in cycles. I think that's the takeaway, right? People's mental states change in cycles. People's growth change in cycles, and I'm seeing that. And just talking to you here, that I'm realizing that as we're sitting down here.
Yeah.
That's how everyone just has to take that mentality. It's like whatever you're feeling right now, it comes in waves and it goes. And just take a step back and reflect over what you've been through so far and how things have changed for you, because we all changed so much over the years. So, you'll get through it, whatever it is, I'll get through this. And I'm really excited for this. I've had my struggles over the past couple of years, but it's the next phase, and so hell yeah, that's kind of, this is being a big boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. This is becoming a big boy now.
You're a big Larry now, son.
I'm a big Larry.
You're big now. Larry. I'm still small Larry though. I gotta catch up, because those couple years in grad school definitely set me back as far as my progression and everything. And so while I'm not worried or in need of making any big moves now, it's kind of wild to see your progress versus mine, because we're literally the same age, 2 weeks apart, and ran a similar course in life. It's just we took two separate paths, and we're gonna end up meeting on the other side somewhere at the same location. Yeah. But it's kind of like I told you, I was, very happy for you, but at the same time, a little bit jealous, because I was I want this. I want to be, on my own, I want to be a big Larry.
Yeah, totally. No, totally. And I think what you just mentioned right there is something else to keep in mind, is everyone's on their own path. Everyone's on their own track. And this is a discussion I think I've had with you as well as some other close friends. It's everybody is working, right, at different levels and different time frames and different points in their life, and that's okay, right? There's no race, right, that's going on. So I have some friends that are getting married, and some friends that are still in college, and that's totally okay. And even if the ages are similar, because we all are growing and evolving at our own rates, right? There's no harm in people moving slower or faster in any regards, you know? So it's not don't be discouraged at all wherever you are in your life now. I know you're not, but
exactly,
think about it. It's you're jealous now, but we'll converge. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
There will be a convergence. We will all converge.
Yeah, I mean, and people, like you said, people are on different paths, and those paths, maybe I'm hitting some boulders and having to climb a little bit before you are, but then, I'm easygoing the rest of the way, and then maybe you're going to run into something else. The grass is always green. No, I don't mean you in general. I just mean in general, people, as Jason said quite eloquently, was that everybody's on different paths, so you can't worry about what someone's doing over there, because just because the grass is greener on the other side doesn't mean that they're not dealing with their own issues and everything like that. And so while we've been very adult and very prophetic this entire episode, I would like to remind you that there's always time for you to rip a tree out of the ground, to move around a stop sign, to possibly throw some eggs off a balcony.
I don't recommend anything illegal. Only things that have slight fines attached to them.
Break into a park. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. While we don't condone
nothing that's ever gonna harm anyone, or anything that would be on your record permanently.
Yeah, Jason's keeping me in check.
I'm sorry.
The point is that there are times to be responsible. You can also have some fun too. So while we are progressing on our lives and getting to a certain point and kind of becoming I'm a big Larry now, at the same time it's dude, I want to be a dumb Larry sometimes too. I want to red Larry, blue Larry.
Take the time to let go and be yourself, and be that person that you want to be or you used to be. flow with it, engage, flow with it.
Well, I think that's kind of like, and we were talking about this right before we even turned on the mics too, was the fact that like, yeah, when we have these weekends when we hang out for like, 4 or 5 days, whatever it is, and kind of work on our content and just have fun and revert back almost to our college days, like then we're apart again for a couple months, and it's like life goes back to normal. You have that, I guess, retreat or outlet, and then you get back on track and you keep working, and it's just like, while you're not taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, it's like there's always time for a break and to kind of keep yourself, mental health is super important, and you got to keep yourself happy.
Exactly. And you had mentioned this, and timing is going to be a little weird with what episodes are coming out when, but I did want to say this episode should be coming out smack dab in between both of our birthdays. Just dazzled right in there.
Right in.
And we've alluded to it many times, but we do think it's time that we do unveil the tree ripping story.
We talk about it a lot.
We've mentioned it so many times, and we've held this under you guys. We've held it over your heads, and we're like, trust me, it's a really good story. We have some potential guests that might be good additions to this story that will be coming on next week. We're actually going to stay in an Airbnb together to celebrate each other's birthdays, and we might have some friends coming through, so we'll see. But get excited, all right? It's coming. It's finally coming.
That is going to be a good one. And I mean, I'm sure, especially, we need to reconfirm with our guests and if they're going to be able to make it. And there's a high likelihood they will, and they can add an interesting perspective to that story. But also, they were a major part of senior year too. So while we will definitely be talking about that, I'm sure that there will be plenty of other shenanigans that just roast Zach and Jason the entire time. So that should be fun.
You mentioned the totem pole thing too.
Oh,
the Hot Larry's.
Yeah.
We have a couple, baby. We have a couple real good stories coming in. Whether they're on the show or not, I think our next episode will be going over that stuff.
Dude, you know what I realized after the fact when I was kind of going back through the episode is that I didn't find the totem pole. I just said that in the moment, like thinking about it. I had nothing to do with it. I mean, I guess I did find it at a certain point.
But you saw the outcome. Like, it's like, what would you what would be the best drunk find? It's like, you were involved with the outcome, so I guess that's fair.
Well, I was there the entire way. It was just, I was like I was an innocent bystander, and then other things were going on that happened. But yeah, no, I realized after the fact that I was like, dude, I was literally just in like panicking in 911 mode. I was like, gecko on the moon, tunnel pole.
If you haven't checked out the Hot Larry special, guys, check that out. That I think came out last week or the week before. We'll have everything set up properly and chronologically. But, I think this has been the big boy episode. I am a big Larry now.
Oh, yeah.
We will all become big Larrys, and we will shrink and become small Larrys, right? It is a flow, big and small Larrys, right? But whatever track you're on right now, just keep grinding. Everything ebbs and flows, and we're all going to get through this together. This has maybe been one of the more heartfelt Call Me Larry podcast, and that might be because I'm sipping coffee and not beer, and it's 1 p.m.
We like to go back and forth. We'll do like a very sincere episode, like where we're talking to Big Jeff or like getting life advice, or we're talking about like how we're doing in our lives, and the next one's like, yo, let's eat hot wings and sit and just shoot tequila the entire time. Like, what? It makes no. What is this podcast? What is this platform? Like, what are we doing?
It depends on how we're feeling in the day, right?
Call me fucking Larry.
Give us a follow on Instagram at callmelarry_pod. Anything else you want to shout out here? And what was it? Our graphic designer at cap.creative on Instagram as well.
Yep, check them out. They have some really dope artwork, and they've posted some of the stuff that they've made for us, but very creative, really cool stuff. So if you're looking for any freelance graphic design, you can definitely grab some stuff from them too.
I am a big Larry now.
Peace.
This is Call Me Larry. Like and follow to get us on demand.